France, they call it a reopeniste, So their website there is called Reopen 9/11. And so they've taken an English term and Frenchified it. So I met people from We Are Change in Holland, a couple of delegates from the United States, Swiss, the French group from Switzerland, the German group from Switzerland. Of course, Switzerland is a multilinguistic country. And as I tend to find everywhere I go, the people who are asking these questions about 9/11, I find them usually to be rather noteworthy as being above average intelligence and of such a frame of mind that they're capable of independent thought. And it really does seem to me increasingly, we walked towards the Bastille. We walked from the Place de République, where these events that led up to the French Revolution happened. The French Revolution in 1789, coming up with this cry of liberté, égalité, fraternité. And a big part of the prelude to the French Revolution was throughout the 18th century, throughout the 1700s, people like Rousseau and Voltaire and Diderot, who had this idea that there should be an encyclopedia. He invented the concept of encyclopedia to collect all knowledge. And all of these people were dealing with a society that was controlled by the church and was governed by monarchs who had the power because of who his or her parents were. And so the concept of enlightenment, the siècle des Lumières, was that, why should we accept the superstitious stories? Why should we accept a priesthood and monarchies who, because of, who claim some special power of God? Let's try to use our thought, our reason, have discussions, allow our idea of what is true to be guided by rational proof, by evidence. And so you would think in a university that's what we are about. And it really was striking to me to be in Paris, to be talking about these things in the context of the 9/11 truth movement. And it really does seem to me that in a way it's a struggle not only for this story and what are the facts of this story and what is the interpretation that conforms with the facts, but it's a contest about whether or not we keep the heritage of Enlightenment thinking or whether we give in to the kind of fear-mongering that we saw in the 8 steps to recognize a terrorist, the idea that we should simply accept what the White House, what the New York Times, what the BBC, what the CBC, what those in authorities tell us. Never mind when we look at the Pentagon and we say, well, where's the plane? A passenger plane hit it. Where is it? I don't see it. The field in Pennsylvania, where's the plane? I don't see the wreckage. Gee, those buildings falling at the speed of gravity looks like a controlled demolition to me. I've seen lots of pictures of what a building looks like when it's exploded from the inside. It doesn't look to me like gravity pushing it down. I mean, this looks like a table to me. Well, how do you know it's a table? How can you prove it's a table? Well, I've seen a lot of tables, and that looks like a table. And I've seen controlled demolitions, and that looks like a controlled demolition. Well, you're not an expert. You're not a physicist. You're not, and the New York Times says it, and all these authorities say it. And who are you? How dare you question what your betters, your elders, the wise people in political science at Harvard, the wise people in all these institutes, how dare you challenge this official story? And if you challenge this official story, the heart of the matter is you must say that it was a security failure, and if you say you think the evidence points to anything else other than a great big mistake, that people were caught with their pants down, that there was something so systemic about it, so coordinated about it, that it It looks like a plan. If you say that right now, you're in a minority. How do you hear this discussion in your classes? I mean, in political science, in all this analysis of, what are we living in, and what is the nature of our politics and our power structure and our culture, and this just is so central to how we're constructed today. Why can't we have a full and open discussion about it and a proper investigation? So I'm seeing things, when you get to go to a different country and look back at your reality, you see things anew, and it certainly confirms in me now that I meet all these people all around Europe who are coming to the same conclusions. It gives you a certain sense that, I feel kind of alone here. I don't, if a student wants to do an MA thesis on 9/11 and what happened on 9/11, is that allowed? Would you get your funding cut? Would you, lose your promotion? Why? Aren't we supposed to be able to have open and free debates and let the evidence speak for itself? And why can't we have a proper investigation? Not a phony, fraudulent, put-up job, a bogus investigation like what they called the 9/11 investigation. That's another subject. So Annie Machon, who had a big role in organizing it, she was a spy, a counterintelligence agent working for MI5 in Great Britain. And she and her partner, her lover, who she met at her place of work, they quit and became whistleblowers. And so they'd seen a lot of things inside the British Security Service that to them were just so wrong. The big one that she'll talk about is MI6, one of the committees that her partner David Shaler was on, was giving money to an Islamic group in Libya. And this Islamic group in Libya were intent on and attempted to, with full knowledge and possibly backing of the security service in Great Britain, to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi. So the idea that such a unit is acting independently. So this is really what's going on, that you find again and again. Yes, there are Islamic theocrats with very radical ideas about the corruption about the West and that kind of thing. But they're often working with the security services or funded by the security services. And if you really think of how society is structured nowadays, there is big money in the fact that people are afraid. People are willing to buy security, whether through the money that goes to the government that spends great amounts of money on not only the army and the government services, but increasingly on private companies. So here was an instance in the late 1990s of the British government secretly funding an Islamic group whose intention was to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi. They failed. The attempt to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi failed. But in the process, people, bystanders, or I'm not sure if it was security guards or exactly who it was, but several people were killed, were murdered in this attempt to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi, an attempt financed by the British government. So that's her story, that's her view, and then when 9/11 happened, she had the view, and David Shaler had the view that, this is part of a pattern that they were witnessing.